Jason Solis.
Yeah, Holiday and good morning, everybody. Throughout this second wave of coronavirus, it's been so much more. I don't want to say so much more, and I'm really trying to pick my words carefully and everything because when the islands 5 days ago, the 41st person in our tightly knit island community to pass away from COVID. Every single death that we have had is important. Everyone is beloved. We're all one family here on Guam. This one hit me particularly hard because the 41st person was a classmate of mine. He's also the younger and older brother of two friends. Richard Tumunda is someone who is a couple years older than myself and my classmates in high school. He was a teammate of mine when we both played for PIVA, the Pacific Islanders Volleyball Association. He was my opposite, which means we played the same position. We've got that kinship, and Rich and I are super super close. His brother Ray, I also play with him too. But Renie, the late Renie, and it's still I've been doing this 20 years. I'm struggling for words right now, but I mean, it's my class at Sanchez. We're this little tiny little school up in Yigo, and everybody that graduated from the class of '92, we're all close, like most high school classes are. Um, we were all shocked because the character of Ren, as we're going to tell you in this next interview with his now widow and his younger brother Ray. Um, Ren was always like an immensely hard worker, really, really good guy. Like I said, I've known the family. They're very, very humble people, God-fearing, good character people. Good family from Jigo, and so this one was particularly painful for me. So in the KUM News Zoom room right now, and we want to make this about remembering Ren for those of us who had the pleasure of knowing him and calling him friend or relative, colleague even. So let's go ahead and bring in uh, Divina Leones-Tumunda. Divina Hafide, and thank you for joining us. And I can't even imagine the time I've talked to your brother-in-law Rich. I've messaged Ray a couple times. And Ray, good morning, man.
Morning, morning.
Good morning again. In the KUM
Good
News
morning.
Zoom room, we have Divina Leones-Tumunda, the widow of Renie Tumanda, and the brother Ray. Good morning, and just first of all, right off the bat, our deepest and most sincere condolences coming from the Link and the KUM family.
Yes.
We've heard so much about Renie, and we can't even really begin to understand the tragic loss that you're living through right now.
Yes, good morning. Thank you for having us on a show today. Um, it's been a roller coaster this past few days and past couple of weeks that, Renee was, of course, at the ICU, and it's been really hard.
It has, and we've heard that he was a really healthy guy, a spear fisherman. Looking over your Facebook and just talking with Jay and everybody, and um, again, we just can't really make sense of this. So, if you could just take us back to the beginning when your late husband was exposed to the virus, and then walk us through what that ordeal was like for you and your family.
Yeah, and so a couple of weeks ago, like in the beginning of earlier, yeah, beginning parts of September, I know they've been really busy at work, and he would come home, tired, but still always excited to share how his day went. That's just how he is. He was very proud um, to serve and to protect as a customs officer, and he did his job with integrity, and he never complained. I mean, he came home really tired, um, and he never complained. He did his job because he knew that um, it was important. Um, Everything he did was, you know, for others, and that's just his personality. That's his character, you know. But yeah, so he came home really tired the week before he was admitted, and all he kept saying was, "Oh, I'm fine. We just had a rough day at work. We had a lot of things to do today." And I believe them because I know that they do work really hard. And so that was on a Monday. Um, as the days go by, he was coughing and started to feel symptoms like it started with a cough and body ache. And eventually he started to have a low-grade fever. Um, and then he started to complain about having diarrhea. And then I started to get really worried because I'm like, oh my gosh, those symptoms sound very, familiar with all the news being shared. And, I always follow just so I'm aware of what to look for in my family. And so um, I think that was like the third day, the fourth, on a Thursday, all of those symptoms, plus I started to notice he started to come home really extra tired. And so we talked about, how he was feeling and stuff, and he doesn't like to go to the doctor. He hates needles, and he never got sick. And so and also too, he didn't want me to worry about anything. So I think that's why he didn't really tell me what he was truly feeling during those days. And so I finally was able to convince him that Saturday to get screened. So we both went, and we received our results in like 2 days, and we both tested positive. And so, my symptoms weren't as severe as Ren, and we both really tried to, mainly me, because he was just really weak and didn't have much energy. Tried to really care for him because he needed it more, right? And so it was Tuesday morning on the 8th, I woke up because I could hear him like gasping for air. And so I woke him up, and he woke up, and he said, "I'm okay. I'm just really congested, and my nose is stuffy, and I can't breathe. I'm okay." And so I stayed up. That might have been like 3:30 a.m. And so I stayed up with him just to kind of watch him some more. And he calmed down and was able to go back to sleep. And all of a sudden, again, he started gasping for air. And I looked at his face, and he just didn't look good. And so I told him that I was going to call an ambulance, and he refused. He still, even at that time, knowing that, he refused, and I didn't understand. I was really upset with him, and so I got mad, and then he says, "Okay, you can take me to the fire station." And so I said, "Okay." So we drove quickly to the Yigo fire station, and sure enough, his oxygen levels weren't good, and so they transported him, and that was the last time that I was with him physically. I was able to do a video call with him while at GRMC, but that following morning he was already intubated and sedated, and that was the last time that I actually saw him awake, and here we are.
I'm really just at a loss of words.
Yeah. Let's bring Ray on. Could we bring Ray on? Good morning, Ray.
Morning.
Can we? How long was he a customs officer? How long was he a customs officer? Because we do have a message from Guam Customs Um,
Divina,
About seven,
how long has
about 7 years,
7 years.
almost 7 years.
Right. You know, the customs, Guam customs in quarantine, they say the passing of one of our own due to COVID-19 strengthens our desire to protect and defend our community. We will not be overrun and we will not falter. Please pray for us and with us as we continue to mourn the loss of one of our own and persevere through fatigue, stress, and round-the-clock border protection for the security of Guam. Was Ren assigned to the port authority?
Oh yes, he was assigned to the port.
Okay. And how are you doing, Davina? Because you said that you had tested positive. Are you cleared already?
Yeah, so I've been cleared almost 2 weeks already. I've been cleared. So just knowing that I was also positive, it I kind of had that mindset like, oh my gosh, my husband is in the ICU and he's really, really sick. And although I was, sad and upset that I couldn't be able, be there beside him to comfort him or to help him in any way. I thought about our kids and he wouldn't want me to, like get any worse or whatnot and not be able to care for them. So I tried really hard to make sure that, I beat it, and which I did, I thank God. And now that I think about it, I think he was, he made sure that I was okay. And so he probably sacrificed himself.
How are the kids holding up?
They miss their dad a lot. But they've always been close, but closer more than ever now. And so I don't know. I think they're good so far. I mean, we have so many family and friends who have been with us this whole time, and all that outpouring of love and support has really helped us a lot, and we're very grateful that we have them. So
Davina, when your husband was sedated and intubated, and you told us that was the last time that you saw him awake, when he went into the hospital, did you have any idea that it would end like
No.
this? Were you hopeful?
I wasn't allowed to go to the hospital. I was at home. And so we communicated through his first days. I'm sorry, excuse me. So while at GRMC, when he was still, when he wasn't sedated yet, I would communicate with the nurse and they would provide me with updates. And so I sent him a text message and I told him that I was going to call him, just to check how he was doing, and knowing that he was on the CPAP. And so, and I knew that his oxygen levels weren't so good and that he needed that machine. And so I texted him and I said that, I'm going to call you, but not to have a conversation, but I just want to see your face and see that you're okay. And so he said, okay. And I called and, he had the machine on his face. And as a matter of fact, he was the one who was kind of rushing to get me off the phone. And, he never wanted me to worry about anything. And I'm sure he knew that just by me seeing him in that condition, he's like, okay now, okay, I'm fine. And so I said, okay, make sure that you fight hard, and we're here waiting for you. So
You know,
that's okay.
every time the releases come out, it's really dreadful because a lot of the times it's all we get is the number. 47th person died of COVID, 48th, 49th. And I'm just hoping, maybe just for a few minutes, we can celebrate Ren's life and maybe share with people the type of person he was. Because he was more than just a number. He was a husband, he was a
Yeah.
father, he was a brother.
So, I mean, he had so many friends. He loved to go fishing. He had a numerous fishing buddies that he would talk about all the time. As a matter of fact, we have a room here filled with his gear, and I used to tease him about it because it was taking up so much space in that room, and I would tell him that I would put it on Facebook for sale. And he's like, no, anything but my gear, no. And so he loved to fish. He loved volleyball. He loved riding bikes. As a matter of fact, he bought a bike, and with Ray, whenever Ren was available, didn't have work, they would ride. And so, like he helped, like at work, he would cover people who needed a certain day off to do whatever. He didn't even think about it. He'll be like, oh, babe, I actually work on Wednesday because I swap days. So-and-so needed to go do this and do that and stuff like that. And he was always around for anybody. He did anything for anybody, and he never even thought about himself. He was always last. He had so many projects. Well, a couple years ago, he says, oh, babe, I want to build an oven, right? We were preparing for our daughter's sweet 16. And I was like, an oven? What are you going to do with an oven? And then he goes, well, like we can put some chicken in there, and we can roast a pig in there, and that way it's easy on preparation. And so he worked really hard on that oven. And then he has one unfinished project here, a smoker, because he loves chicken squid. And so when he has a craving for it, he would ask me to make some for him, and he would always want to barbecue the chicken. So nobody was allowed to touch the chicken because he says nobody could barbecue the chicken right. And so now walk past that unfinished smoker, I look at it and I said, oh, babe, so who's gonna barbecue the chicken for the Kelagwin? And so for his nieces, his nephews, for our kids, family, he was always second. Everyone was first. When work called, when his phone rang, he'll be like, oh, it's work. And then he'll be like, okay, babe, I'll be back. I need to do 2 hours, or I need to do 3 hours. I'm like, what? You're off today? And he's like, yeah, but they're short and they need people to cover this and that. And so I'm going to go in. So he was really hardworking man. He was so proud to be a customs officer. I remember the day of his graduation from the cycle, and he was just, really, really proud. I mean, like he would, even at home, like when I watch him prepare his uniform, he was very careful about, the placement of all his pins and stuff like that, the way he polished his shoes. you know,
Sounds like a good man.
he was good man.
Divina, this is Jason. I mean, I can absolutely speak to the quality of your husband's work ethic, and and all three of the Tumunda brothers. A real quick story I want to share is, when you and I were emailing each other, I said I wanted to share something with you. But our senior year, when we were getting ready for homecoming, you know, Ren was never one to. He said he never wanted to run for class president. He wasn't into student government. He's like, no, that's not my thing. I've got sports. But when it came to building the float that we used, he was the first one that showed up at our classmate Vince Dela Cruz's house, and he stayed there for 4 straight days. Anytime you saw him, he was wearing the exact same thing. He goes, I'm going to do this until the job is done. And what you said about his attention to detail, every nail had to be exactly correct, every measurement. I mean, he was always walking around. He had 3 nails in his mouth, and he had the hammer in his hand, and he built our float. And we're, hey, Red, let's go to homecoming now. He's like, nah, I don't know if I want to watch the game anymore. But I mean, he loved to build and he loved to create. He was a man that was incredibly good with his hands. But what he also was, and what we also referred to him, is he was Rich's little brother and Ray's older brother. And I'd like to bring in Ray into the call right now. And Ray, I know, because I know the three of you. I've had the pleasure of knowing you guys for almost 30 years now. The bond between the three of you is so strong. Rich is 2 years older than Ren. Ren's 3 years older than you. Talk about the unique bond that the three of you have always had as brothers. Because brothers' love is immeasurable.
Growing up, man, we always my mom bought not just one, not 2. It had to be 3. 3 of the same kind, because we're all the same. Yeah, we would have our small arguments, but we would always look up to my brother Rich, and then if Rich is not there, Ren will always come by. Just growing up, man, we had some crazy stories just growing up, from playing games out in our grandpa's house, hanging out at our grandpa's house. One thing that we were growing up is us 3 of the Tumanda boys, we had to learn how to kill pig. And since my grandfather started getting old, Ren stood up and took charge. He was in charge of stabbing the pig, castrating the nut.
Yep.
And from everything, doing the roasting pig, nobody won't interrupt. He would be the one sewing up the pig. From everything from what our grandfather taught us. And yeah, like basically what Divina said, he would always put everyone first before him. When I would come home from work, he'll be feeding us chickens. And then every time I hear his phone ringing, I would yell in the jungle. I said, Ren, telephone. He'll run to the phone. He don't even say hello. He'll just say, okay, 10-7, or whatever code that is.
Mm-hmm.
And then he says, oh, man, I got to go do some hours. And he'll just say, oh, I got to go. The last time I saw him was, man, I don't even know, because I saved my mom and dad. So every time I know he's always tired, but at the same time, he'll never, ever forget to feed his chickens.
Yep,
His
that's
chickens,
absolutely Ren. It's about the chickens.
Yeah. Well, my older brother Rich told me that when he was in the hospital, I guess his friend texted my brother, and he mentioned, out of everything, not even check the family, check the kids, he said, make sure they feed my chickens. Until this day, man, I've never seen so many chickens, and chickens rice sack go down within 2 days, and that's like $30 a case or a sack. But yeah, Ren did everything. Actually, I followed him when he started biking. He did cycling, mountain biking, swimming. He did swim, bike, run, spearfishing. We looked up to him for spearfishing because we couldn't dive as deep as he can, and we always got the smaller fish. But when we were growing up in my grandfather's house, we would fix cars, and in return he'll come home fishing and he'll just give it to us and we'll just cook it. Never sold anything, gave it away. Um, but yeah, all those pictures I've been posting on Facebook, I was a photographer.
Well, Ray, let me ask you, because and it's interesting how you and your two brothers, you guys, professionally, you guys have taken three different career paths. Your older brother Rich has gone into healthcare and education. Ren was, law enforcement, and he was a sportsman. He was an outdoor enthusiast and everything. And you got into automotive technology and everything. But despite the fact that working, you guys did three completely different disciplines. You all share the same character, the same heart, obviously the same blood. How do you want to carry on your brother's legacy, and let people know, let everybody know that you meet from now on, like, who Ren was?
Oh man, my brother was down to earth. Like I said, I barbecue myself a lot, but I can never cook that chicken as good as he can because I hate cooking chicken. Me and my brother and my brother Rob, we're still gonna finish his smoker for him. He still has a lot of projects to do. We're gonna fulfill that. One of his goals was also to fix up his truck. At the same time, since I work for Toyota, I asked some of my friends, they know my brother too, because they always know him by his blue truck. Yeah, well, Ren will always be remembered, gone but never forgotten. His legacy will still be on. Like I said, me and my brother and our other friends, we will still fulfill his needs.
Divina, if we could go back, and I know that you told us that you called Ray to see if he was okay. At what point did you know that he wasn't going to get better? And what was it like were you able to say goodbye to your husband?
Actually, Friday morning, I received a call from the nurse, and they were trying to get my permission to give him, some blood. His hemoglobin levels were low, and so they needed consent. And I said, okay, whatever my husband needs, please just give him what he needs, because we need him to get better. And she says, okay. And a few hours later, I receive a call from the doctor saying that one of his lungs had already collapsed. And so at that point, I was so desperate. I said, what are you doing for him right now? And she explained, and I said, well, isn't there anything else that you can do? I said, do more. What can you do? And the doctor was, of course, trying to calm me down. And she said that he was on the best machines, all the machines everything that he needed, he has right now. And that the only thing that they could help him with is just to keep him as comfortable as possible. And I was like, what are you talking about? I was just in disbelief, because days before that, every time I would call several times every day for updates. And they would tell me, his blood pressure sounded good. All his vitals sounded good, except for they would tell me about his organs. And I guess I didn't want to accept that, one by one, his organs were slowly getting affected. And so I asked that if we could if they could set up a Zoom for us so that we can kind of see with him and try, I thought maybe if he heard our voices, that would help him fight harder. And so they set it up for us, and I was on there with him for almost 30 minutes before I even let our kids come on, and then eventually invited our family and his customs family as well. And so just looking at him on the screen and already knowing what his true conditions were based off the conversation I had with the doctor earlier that day. I just and so we stayed on the Zoom as long as the iPad lost charge, and the nurse said that he would charge the iPad and call me back with a new link. And I got a call back, but it wasn't the link. And so I think, I try to think that that was part of the plan, for him to hear everybody and, bring everybody together before he let go. And so when I received that call, I was still in shock. As a matter of fact, Ren, he always took care of me. And so, when I think about everything that happened from the time from Friday morning, like the whole day, when I think about the events that occurred that day, I felt like he was there, making sure that I was okay. And for some strange reason that night, my coworker, my really good friend, she had called me, and she calls me throughout the day, but it was strange that she called at that time. She called around like 8:10, 8:15-ish. We were having a discussion about everything at work, projects and stuff like that. And while on the phone with her, I was still, although I was cleared by public health, I told our kids that I would like to stay away just, maybe another week, just to make sure that I'm good and that they don't get sick or anything. And so I was still away from the kids. That was an additional week that I decided on my own to stay away. And so he knew that I was still alone. And at that time, I was on the phone with my my coworker. The phone had rang. And so I saw on the caller ID that it was the hospital, and she was still on the phone with me. And I think, like he needed her to call me at that time as well, so that I wasn't alone when I received that call, because I'm sure I would have reacted very differently if I was just, if she wasn't on the phone with me. And so even until now, like I'm looking around the room looking for stuff, I can't find it. And all of a sudden, in the same area I've been looking at for 30 minutes or more, whatever I needed would appear. And so, that was Ren. He did everything, everything for me, everything for the kids, and he never even questioned about anything. I don't even have to ask him. I would just say, "Oh, babe, I need to do this and that, whatever." He's like, "No worry, I'll take care of it," and it's done, But he is a good man. He's a good husband, a good father, brother, son. We will all miss him. Friend.
Divina, I mean, from what you're telling us, what we've heard from the family, from Jason, I mean, he was a strong, healthy guy, right?
Yes. Yes, he sure was. As a matter of fact, he didn't have any underlying conditions prior to being infected with this COVID. And so I thought, man, you're so strong. I mean, like, you're so healthy. I don't know. I guess the infection just took over his body but then I thought too, because he doesn't like to go to the doctor, I thought maybe he was, I'm sure he was still aware of what was happening with his body, and I don't know. I'm still trying to process this whole thing.
We want to thank you for coming on and sharing your story with us. So tragic, so heartbreaking. How are you going to make a life moving forward without your husband?
You know, we had so many plans. He wanted to do so many things, and like Ray had mentioned, you know, he has so many unfinished projects, and we will we will do all of that for him. We will make sure that whatever he left, we will complete.
Yeah, legacy will still follow, regardless what happens.
Yeah.
Well, thank you, Ray and Divina. I guess really, is there just any final message to people that are listening to your story, Ray's story? I mean, Ren's story.
Yeah, you know, I just want everybody to know that this coronavirus is not a joke. You know, it's not even it it doesn't pick and choose who it wants to infect. You know, if you're not out there practicing those extra safety precautionary measures, man, you're putting yourself at risk. You're putting your family at risk. Um, yourself. I just want everyone to know how serious this thing is, and maybe, I mean, they won't really understand until they're going through what we are going through right now, you know, and it's not easy. You know, my husband was in the hospital for almost 3 weeks by himself, nobody around, and it's so sad, you know, and they just, I just hope that everybody thinks about, you know, what's happening to our island. Our island's so small. You know, we really need to take those extra safety measures and take this pandemic seriously, because it's not a joke. It's not a joke. So
Right.
please, if you're listening, you know, you need to think about your family and others around you. If you know, it's just, you know, here we are, we're mourning the loss of my husband, my children's father, you know, Ray and Richard's brother. It's just it's
Crazy.
it's serious. It's crazy. This year is so sad, so full of sadness. Let's not add to that. Let's really truly flatten that curve.
One thing is, at first, I was, saying, "Oh, I can't get COVID. I can't I can't get COVID," just like the commercial says. But when it hits home, everybody's gonna stay home. I don't care if you're the president or whatever. When it hits a family member, it's a different story, because you couldn't say your last goodbyes, and like what Chris says, stay home, and this is be safe or mask up. You young guys out there that think that COVID is a flu, you don't want to go through what we're going through. Losing a brother, you can't buy that at the store. You can't go Ross to go get it. You can't go eBay, Amazon to buy a brother or family member. All we can do is listen, mask up, stay away, or even just stay home. Please. Look at my brother. He was never sick. I think the only time I saw him sick was when he had the flu. All he had to do is add Vicks. He's be good. But never gone to the hospital. Scared to take a needle for his son. I'm just saying, COVID is real, guys. Who cares if California is out there having fun? then moved to California. Guam is home. Like I said, COVID is real. Listen to Chris and mask up, stay home.
Divina, thank you
Thanks
so
Ray.
much, and our prayers, really just so many prayers and going out to you and your family. Ray, thank you, Cello. God
No
bless
problem.
you. God bless you guys.
Yeah,
Thank you for
And I
coming on.
just want to say to to Divina and to Ray and to Rich, because I know you're watching right now, bro. On behalf of all my classmates and everything like that, we're always here for you guys. We're gonna do whatever we can to support, the entire, the Tumunda, the Mendoza family here on Guam and Hawaii and Florida. So thoughts and prayers to Sharon and Shirley too. But it's we're grieving the loss of one of our brothers too. In the metaphorical sense, you guys lost your brother, your husband, and everything. So we grieve his passing right now, but we will always celebrate his life. We all remember Ren, and we have so many fond memories of Ren. So thank you for sharing some of your memories with us, because we've got so many.
Thank you, Divina.
Thank you.
Ray. Keep us posted
you.
on any plans with the rosaries or funeral, and we'll get the word out. Okay.
Oh,
Appreciate it, guys.
Thank
Take
you.
care.
God bless
thank
you.
you
guys.
so much.
Thank you, Davina. We're gonna play this cut here. We know that family told us this was one of Renee's favorite songs, and we'll do this version from our friend, one of Ren's favorite songs. Yeah, our version from our friend Joe Guam, "Somewhere Over the Rainbow." It's the link on the Breeze 93.9.